Why are 70% of Jamaicans and people in the Caribbean leaving for North America and Europe? Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm joined by Sarah and Rich. Welcome to episode 90. Today, we're looking at a critical issue facing many Caribbean nations, something often called the silent flight of our youth. We're going to explore why so many skilled individuals are, well, choosing to leave their home countries. Our insights for this conversation come mainly from a commentary in the Jamaica Observer. And that piece draws on information from places like the Barbados Daily Nation, the Barbados Statistical Services, and the Caribbean Development Bank, among others. Our aim here is to really unpack the complex realities behind this migration. We want to understand the challenges, sure, but also, perhaps surprisingly, some potential benefits too. We'll help you see the full picture, connect the dots.
Exactly. And this isn't just about, economic numbers or charts. At its heart, it's about personal dreams, aspirations, national development too. And ultimately, it's a global thing. What we talk about today will really show why this matters for you, whether you're from the Caribbean or not, because honestly, it mirrors broader trends in how talent moves around the world.
Okay, so let's start with something concrete, a real-world story to ground us. The Barbados Daily Nation recently had this piece about a secondary school leaver just about to head off to Canada for university. And their story really shone a light on the struggle young people face finding, meaningful work back home, and this growing trend of young folks just leaving the island. It paints a really clear picture, doesn't it?
It does. And that story, that anecdote, unfortunately, isn't just a one-off. It's really backed up by the data. If you look at the Barbados Statistical Services, their figures show unemployment for 15 to 24-year-olds there.
Right.
It's not just high, it's consistently between 20 and 30%. That's quite alarming.
20 to 30%. Wow.
And then if you zoom out, look at the wider Caribbean, the Caribbean Development Bank reports something even more striking. More than 70% of Caribbean nationals who have tertiary education, so university degrees and such, actually live and work outside the region.
70%, that's huge.
That's a massive number.
Okay, let's unpack this then. That figure immediately points to some powerful push factors, doesn't it? The things basically forcing people or strongly encouraging them to leave. So you've got a local job market that might be stagnant, maybe too competitive for the few good jobs, or just not set up to absorb people with certain skills.
That's right.
It makes sense that leaving starts to look like the best option.
Yeah.
What jobs are typically available? I'm guessing it's fairly concentrated.
You're spot on. They are quite concentrated. The main opportunities tend to be in tourism, obviously the oil industry in relevant countries, and then in some places manufacturing and agriculture, plus, wholesale, retail, public service roles. The problem comes when someone's talent, their education, their interests just don't fit neatly into those boxes.
Right. They've trained for something specific, and there's no local demand.
Exactly.
And it's not just about getting that first job, is it? What about climbing the ladder? Is there room to grow?
That's another major piece of the puzzle, professional advancement. Even if you do land a job in one of those sectors, people often find there just aren't that many senior positions or opportunities for real skill development right there at home. People talk about a short path to the top. You hit a ceiling pretty quickly.
Ah, okay. So you get stuck.
Which naturally makes ambitious, skilled people start looking elsewhere for that next step, that challenge.
So if that's the push, what about the pull? What makes places like North America and Europe seem so attractive? It can't just be a job listing, right?
No, it's much more than that. The pull factors are varied. A big one is simply the broader, deeper markets where skills can be used. North America, Europe. Their economies are just more diverse, more mature. They offer a much wider range of possibilities for specialized expertise.
A much bigger pond.
A much bigger pond, exactly, compared to the options back home.
And our sources suggest it's also about the lifestyle, isn't it? These big urban centers, New York, D.C., Miami, Toronto, London, they offer more than just work. They offer a richer social life, culture, just more going on.
Definitely. It's often framed as an overall improvement in quality of life. People find work that's more interesting, more varied, maybe more challenging in a good way. But beyond the job, there are better options, more choice, often higher quality in things like entertainment, further education, healthcare, recreation, travel, all those things that contribute to personal growth and just enjoying life. Things that might be less available or varied back home.
It's the whole package then.
It really is, both professional and personal fulfillment.
Okay, now here's something interesting, almost a paradox. The Caribbean excels I mean, really excels in culture and sports.
Mm.
We see global stars in music, literature, cricket, athletics, even things like motorsport, horse racing, surfing. Huge talent.
Absolutely world class.
Yet, even these incredibly successful people often end up basing themselves in North America or Europe. Why is that? If they're already successful.
That's a great question, and it boils down to infrastructure, really, the business side of things. Even with immense talent, the international finance, the marketing institutions, the big money, the purchasing power that scales these activities is mostly located overseas.
You mean things like record labels, publishers?
Exactly. Publishers, streaming platforms, booking agents, distribution networks, global social media reach, international broadcasters, all that essential machinery for large-scale success. It's concentrated in those major overseas markets.
So even if the talent originates in the Caribbean,
To really maximize their career and earnings and, frankly, access a certain quality of life connected to that global industry, basing themselves closer to that infrastructure in North America or Europe often makes more sense. It's about access to the global marketplace for their talent.
that makes sense.
Right.
The business follows the money and the infrastructure. So, given all this, what can Caribbean governments realistically do? How can they try to keep more skilled people or at least get the most benefit if people do leave? It seems like fighting gravity.
Well, they can provide incentives. The main lever is improving international competitiveness to attract investment, both local investors and foreign ones. The idea is to boost the country's productive capacity, which then hopefully increases the demand for skilled workers locally, create the jobs at home.
Okay, so attract investment. What do investors look for? What makes them say, yes, I'll build my factory here or I'll fund this project?
Well, fundamentally, they're looking for inherent profitability. It's a business decision. They need to see a market potential to earn a return that covers their costs building the thing, running the thing.
So basic economics.
The basic economics, they'll analyze competitor prices, the cost of supplies, labor cost per unit, how much financing will cost, all the standard business calculations.
And what's fascinating here, according to the sources, is that it's not just about the project itself. There are bigger picture things at play.
Absolutely critical. Macroeconomic factors and administrative hurdles. For instance, a country whose currency is unstable, prone to frequent changes or crises, that's a major red flag for investors.
Yep.
Huge uncertainty.
Makes long-term planning impossible.
Pretty much. And then there's the whole issue of red tape. The burden of getting permissions, navigating regulations. If that process is too complex, too slow, too costly, it can kill even a potentially profitable investment before it starts. Investors might just decide it's not worth the headache.
Right. Added friction, added risk.
Exactly.
So putting this all together, what does it mean for how we should think about this? The term brain drain sounds so negative, like a pure loss. But is it always? Is there maybe another way to look at this, a more nuanced perspective?
This is where it gets really interesting, I think, and maybe a bit more optimistic in a way. The reality is, emigration, especially of skilled people, has actually been a really significant way for Caribbean families to improve their quality of life.
Yeah.
Especially since independence.
How so?
Well, think about it. Generations have migrated, right? But they don't just disappear. They maintain incredibly strong ties with family back home. These networks, they essentially lift everyone up, both the people who left and the people who stayed.
You mean through remittances, sending money back?
Remittances are a huge part of it, yes. But it's also more than just money. It's sharing knowledge, building professional connections across borders, sometimes people returning later with new skills, capital, ideas to start businesses. It's a two-way street, often.
That really reframes it, doesn't it? It puts the Caribbean experience into that global context you mentioned earlier. I was looking at the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs data for 2024. Globally, about 3.5% of people lived outside their birth country.
Okay, so relatively small percentage worldwide.
Right. But then you look at the Caribbean numbers cited, they're often way higher. Yeah. Puerto Rico, St. Kitts Nevis, 60%, Guyana, 57%, Jamaica, 44%, Suriname, 41%, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 35%, Trinidad and Tobago, 22%, Haiti and the DR, 17%, Antigua and Barbuda, 14%, even Barbados at 7% is double the global average.
Those numbers really drive home just how central migration is to the very fabric of these societies.
It's not just a side issue, it's fundamental to their social and economic reality.
It absolutely is, which underscores why trying to simply stop it is probably futile. It's about understanding it and adapting strategically.
Okay, so given that reality immigration is global, and maybe even more intense for the Caribbean, tide that won't be arrested or reversed. as the commentary puts it. What's the practical advice for governments, then? What should they do?
The core advice seems to be focus on maximizing the benefit for your citizens from this ongoing reality. Practically, that means doubling down on creating stable exchange rates. Investors hate currency risk, and it means building efficient, clean, transparent public administration. Cut the red tape we talked about.
Make it easy to do business.
Make it as attractive as possible for job-creating investment to happen at home. Give people good reasons and opportunities to stay if they choose to.
But at the same time, it's a bit of a balancing act, isn't it?
It is. While you're building that strong home base, the advice is also to actively remove any disincentives for people to leave if they really can't find the right fit domestically. If someone has skills or interests that just aren't catered for at home, don't make it harder for them to pursue those opportunities elsewhere.
So it's about enabling people, not restricting them. Let talent flow where it finds opportunity.
Exactly. Empower citizens to seek the best path for themselves, wherever that might be, while you work hard to make the domestic path as viable and attractive as possible. It's a dual approach.
So what we often call brain drain in the Caribbean, it's clearly complex, driven by these push and pull factors affecting jobs, even culture. But as we've discussed, maybe it also has this less talked about upside for families, for quality of life, and creates this flow of resources back.
It really underlines why governments need strategies that adapt to global talent mobility, rather than just trying to block it. Trying to build a dam against that tide probably won't work and might even backfire. Working with the current while strengthening your own shores seems more sensible.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on. Considering those incredibly high migration statistics for some nations, is it possible that what we've traditionally labeled brain drain has actually evolved into something different, maybe something more like brain circulation, a dynamic, maybe even essential part of their economic and social system? Certainly food for thought.